Where? All right, how's it going?
Right, Kermit.
Good.
Good to see you again, Buffalo.
We'll take and give you a chance to look around, see our facility
Okay.
first, and then we'll let you do your thing.
Good.
And I think they're cooking hamburgers and hot dogs for us. For lunch.
Awesome, good. Look forward to it. Let me grab my bag.
Now we introduce you to the boss man. Kermit, how you doing?
Hey,
Kermit Weeks.
Nixon?
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Yes,
Good.
This is senior administrator for the program.
Good. How many kids you have here?
We have 49 today.
49, and how many
kids.
totally?
95 usually.
94.
Really? And what's the age group?
14 to 18.
14 to 18.
Yeah.
Ah.
Some of the kids were like, oh man, we missed the landing. But you went back up. So
Yeah,
they got a chance to see
good.
it.
Okay, let me get this thing tied down and we'll go do it.
All right. Were you saying the dining hall? You start and then come back show too?
I don't know which one you can do first, but I got this camera projector in there.
Good. Right, how you guys doing? Good. You guys must be the blue group. A couple of you guys aren't matched sets. Well, good. This is a Bell 47 helicopter. You guys remember that show, MASH 4077 unit? No. Yeah. Well, anyway, so this one's actually got the 4077. It was a TV show back in probably the 70s anyway.
I know what you're talking about, the Army show.
Yeah, exactly. And what they used to use these for in the Korean War is when the guys would get wounded and stuff, they would put the wounded guys on the side here, and then they'd fly them from the front line, from the battle line, back to the medevac units where they could, dress them up, operate on them, basically take them back to a hospital behind the lines. And this particular one, it's kind of a classic looking helicopter because it's got that big bubble thing up on the front here. And the engine's about 225 horsepower. It's not a lot. They made some with bigger engines a little bit later, but it flies about 75 miles an hour. Of course, a helicopter can hover. Helicopter is very, very sensitive. You've probably flown flight simulators on your computer and stuff. Well, with an airplane, you kind of move the controls, okay? On this thing, it's so sensitive. You just think about where you want to go and you barely move your hand. If you do like you do in an airplane, you're going to scare yourself and whoever's riding with you. Yes,
I
sir.
take riding it, sir?
Oh, I take a ride in it. I wish I had time to take everybody up, but I don't got that much fuel. It doesn't hurt to ask.
No, it does. We're going to do an assembly
In the
inside.
cafeteria, so it's
in the
cool.
cafeteria, y'all can ask more questions.
Cool. So how long have you been working here?
7 years.
Basically the same layout.
The same layout.
Were these all built at the exact same time?
Yeah, this used to, 18, 20 years ago, this was part of a like a rehab program. We took it over about 17 years ago. Not all pie and cake. We deal with kids with anger issues and here. And that's why they have counselors. They get counseling every day. They get group counseling every day for an hour. And they deal with substance abuse, anger issues, criminal thinking, and things like that, and counsel them while they're here. Plus they get individual counseling, and we do some family counseling and stuff too. So hopefully, while they're here, it's a minimum of 6 months. It's a 6 to 9 month program. So they're here for a minimum of 6 months. And it's not a matter of time. They actually have to work a program. There's a program with phases they have to go through. And once they get through those phases and they get the minimum time in and stuff, and then the judge says they can go, then we'll sign them out and they're out of here. But hopefully in that 6 to 9 months, these counselors can help them and turn them around and get them into.
Oh, that's great. And what do you think your percent success rate is?
20 to 30.
20 to 30. And then
Don't sound like much, but it's a lot.
Oh yeah. So do the kids end up back here, or where are they just?
They can't come back to the same program, but if they violate or something, if they do something again, they're right back in another program. There's different levels. There's level 4s, there's level 6, level 8, and level 10. Of course, the higher you go, the worse it is. We're level 6.
Okay.
If they get out of here and they do something worse and they send them to a level 8, then that's more of a lockdown facility with cell blocks and things like that. And then our level 10s, there's only about 2 or 3 in the state, but those are basically juvenile penitentiaries. And kids there, we can only keep them till their 19th birthday here, but the level 10s, they can keep them till their 21st birthdays.
Okay, And
then also their time here is longer. We're 6 to 9s, level 8s are 9 to 18 months, And level 10s are anywhere from 12 to, I think 12 to 24, or they're 24.
And at that 19th or that 21st birthday, do you have to let them loose?
On their 19th birthday,
Okay.
so I have to let them out of here on their
And so
19th birthday.
nobody just gets transferred to a state
They
pen
get
or
released
something?
on 19th. Because they're juveniles up to their 19th birthday. Once they turn 19, we lose all jurisdiction against them. They spend most of the time in this group room in here. They've got the TV with basic cable and stuff.
And they have the counselors.
The counselors' offices,
Group counseling.
we got, they got board games, and they watch TV and movies, and we have to keep their beds made and their rooms clean and the cottage clean, and the kids, each cottage kind of depicts and paints for their.
Yeah.
Because I can't do that.
We have some talented kids that
We
come
do have
through
some
here.
talented artists.
Yeah,
kids.
19.
Yeah, and what's the kind of the general trend of where they come from? Just
Right now,
As far as cities or counties?
no, just impoverished neighborhoods or families without fathers or
a lot of them single parents.
yeah,
We have a lot of kids that just made wrong choices.
yeah,
And
We got kids in good homes too.
Yeah, good kids from good homes, really
Yeah.
good homes.
really, huh?
You know,
I've had kids here whose mom and dads were lieutenants and sergeants in correctional facilities in the jail, local jails around here.
Oh my God.
and I've had kids that both parents were doctors.
Really?
Well, he ended up being a doctor himself.
Really?
I mean, he made the wrong choice and ended up here.
I'll be
You know,
darned.
so.
Can't give you his name, but I do have one kid that went out to Fantasy of Flight, not this last trip, the trip before. I was so impressed with you and Fantasy of Flight.
Yeah.
And we took him to NAA over to National Aviation Academy, and when he left here, he enrolled in National Aviation Academy to become an aircraft mechanic because of what he saw from you. on
Really?
David.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, maybe we can light some sparks.
That's
tonight.
right.
Time I began to collect vintage airplanes and began to think about starting a museum. It has a
I've seen them up here a couple of times.
Yeah, well, but we have a business.
It's like you can't breathe. Like, I watch the show, like the thing.
Oh no, that's if you go really high.
You want some milk?
Try to take some milk. Each and every one of you is here for some purpose. Why are you taking up space on this planet? If you could imagine that you signed on the bottom line before you came here, there was something you were supposed to learn, something you were supposed to experience, or something you were supposed to lead. What is that? You're the only one that can find it, and it's within you, okay? The way that I've connected with that is I find things that resonate. Imagine that this is the effect that you're looking for, things that glow, things that kind of like draw your attention, and you get a feeling like life's trying to draw that to my attention for some reason. Imagine that you go into a room and there's 100 people and there's a party going on, okay? Well, that's white noise. You just hear a bunch of noise. Well, guess what? Life is white noise. And what you're looking for in life is like this effect. All of a sudden, somebody in this room mentions your name across the room, and your focus goes just like that. That's the effect that you're looking for in life. Because life is trying to draw your attention in a way like that. And when those little things happen, look for those clues and follow that energy and begin to work with it. You may not trust it initially, but as you work with it and gain experience with it, you'll begin to realize that you may not get what you want. We always want things. You may not get what you want, but you will always, always, always get what you need. It may not be pleasant, and sometimes one thing will lead to another. The line of life is not a straight line. You guys find yourself here in this facility right here. It's a little side track, okay? Every one of you has unbelievable potential within you. And if you just go within and listen to that little voice or whatever you want to call it, explore and play with it, because in essence, it's just an aspect of yourself. So listen to these little clues in life, follow them, and I guarantee you, if you do that, you're going to end up somewhere down the road. You're going to look back at this experience and you're going to go, oh my God, look what I went through. And now I understand why I went through this experience here to get me where I was in the future. And we all have potential. We can use it for good, we can use it for bad, but in the end, I think if we follow that inner voice, or whatever you want to call it, it works the same for everybody. Just listen to it and follow that, and work with it, and eventually you're going to find yourself somewhere down the road that you're really, really proud of. Well, thank you for inviting me, and good luck on everybody. Yeah, so that was really fun, and it's great to be able to be in a position to inspire, the kids like that, and in the end, that's really what Fantasy of Flight's about. The concept I'm trying to create with Act 3 is more about flight of the human spirit. We may use aviation. We will use aviation history in the beginning to tell those timeless stories, but in the long run, Fantasy of Flight is about self-inspiration, self-transcendence. So anyway. So it was really great talking with the kids, but I got to tell you, there's a little bit of an addendum to this trip that was very unexpected and was not so pleasant at the time. You saw there's a shot there where I'm taking off in the end, and after we landed and we were greeted by everybody, we did everything that you saw in the video. And then what happened was at the end I said, hey Phil, let me get a shot taking off in the helicopter by myself, because initially we thought it was just going to be me in the video going over there, and I'll come back and land and make sure everything's fine or whatever, and then I'll put you in the helicopter, and then we'll take off and we'll go from there. Well, when we landed, the weather was great, okay? And when we went to take off at the end of it wasn't the end of the day, but it was, after lunch, so, early afternoon. And basically, there was a thunderstorm that was way off in the distance, up to the northwest, kind of a little bit north and between Fantasy of Flight and the little center there. And so I went ahead, I took off, everything was dead calm. Phil did this shot where we were basically, me and the helicopter taking off, came back around, I landed again. Now if you remember when we first started, I had a video camera on the tail shooting forward. We had a video camera in the cockpit between Phil and myself behind my head looking forward, and Phil had a handheld camera that he was doing. And when Phil got in the helicopter, they were all turned on, they were all working, and we went to take off for the second time. The only difference was I had Phil on board, okay? And so because and the wind was actually blowing a little bit on my nose. No, it wasn't blowing at all. But what I'd done was, because I was back in the corner back there, I basically started trying to get into translational lift, but at the same time I was keeping my nose down to just barely clear the trees on the other end of the compound, and to have the most amount of speed, to get into translational lift and clear the trees. Well, all the cameras were running, everything was going fine. And we sat there and didn't think too much about the storm way off in the distance. And I no sooner got within hundreds of yards at just below the level of the trees, and I'm looking where I'm going to go, and all of a sudden the freaking trees started going like this. And I said to Phil over the intercom, I said, hang on, Phil. I said, I said, shit, hang on, Phil, okay? And he latched on, and we sat there, and all of a sudden, I'm just clearing the trees. There had been a frickin' downburst in the thunderstorm, and this thing was 10 miles away, okay? And all of a sudden, I sat there, I was absolutely maxed on the red line on the deal, and I was doing everything I could to keep the helicopter from going into the trees. And we sat there for a good 2 or 3 minutes, just the trees right below us. I was maxed out. We were within 10 to 15 feet of completely balling up, going into the trees. It would have taken forever to find us because it was nothing but swampy forest. And we ended up, I went down to the south. I was trying to get away from the storm and the wind stuff, and eventually, I got a little bit more altitude. But like I said, I was maxed out at the top of the trees, 10 or 15 feet above the trees, and the only way I could get any higher was to over redline the deal. So I just kept it right where I was, and we ended up finally getting out. The bumps slowed down a little bit. I got into some clear space. I went way south, thinking, you know, I could go to one or the other airports if I had to. But eventually I made it back to Fantasy of Flight. Fantasy of Flight was fine. I landed, and as it turned out, it was time for Airplane of the Day, so I threw Phil out. I did Airplane of the Day on the helicopter. That was kind of interesting. And later, Phil went back to download the camera so we could watch it, the camera on the tail, and the camera in the cockpit. Nothing. There was no video footage, okay? The camera that Phil had in the cockpit that he was hand holding, you can see it, and basically you can see the thunderstorm off in the distance, and we start lifting off, and we're going, and right before the shit hit the fan and the downdraft hit the trees and they started swaying, the camera quits. Well, let me tell you, I live in a different world than most people. I have had the opportunity to connect with other realities. I have had the opportunity to explore other realities. I have never done any drugs in my life. I've never smoked pot, nothing except something a doctor would prescribe to me for pain from a surgery or something. And I'm not going to get into too much of that now, but I have what I call my friends that I connect with, and they take care of me. And I later asked them, I said, what was that all about? How many of my 9 lives have I used up? And they basically told me, don't worry about it. There's plenty more where those came from. Out for now, Kermie Cam.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what happened at the end there, because it was some kind of otherworldly intervention. When we actually got up to the tree line and that wind started blowing, it was kind of frightening. At a couple of points during the storm, the helicopter actually pivoted sideways. I was looking out the window and looking at the top of trees. It's just beyond belief that we got through that. It's even more beyond belief that there's no footage, that every one of the 3 cameras cut out so that there wouldn't be any evidence of some otherworldly interference. So, to know Kermit, or to be around Kermit a number of years, those kind of things are not unusual. It's more commonplace than anything.